This is the HP OmniBook. It's upside down. 16-inch, 16X. This one is sick. I'm gonna have not have a big intro here because this thing is cool. It is the first Panther Lake laptop I'm able to buy, so I bought it. Panther Lake being the brand new chip from Intel. It is way ahead of AMD. There's no point in buying AMD right now unless it's cheaper, which is fine. If you can get it cheaper, you can buy AMD. But if it's price for price, like for like, don't buy AMD, buy Intel. That's the intro. Close the video, move on. The reason is because Intel's better now. Panther Lake is everything it's chalked up to be and more. It lives up to the hype. I'm not a hype beast. I'm not a clickbait farmer. I will break down this laptop in this video very extensively, and you'll see why it's incredible and why you should buy Panther Lake. Okay, let's have a quick look here at the product. Here is the spec sheet from HP. HP OmniBook X 16-inch laptop. Next gen. It is next gen. You can buy it in a few different places. Here's a Best Buy listing. Open box. I got mine actually new, but they have them open box already. That's good to see. I guess somebody brought one back. There's only one apparently, but that's the full price. That's what I paid for it. There you go. It looks like it is actually cheaper at Costco, so that's nice. You can see here Costco has a really good price on it, to be honest. You'd have to be a member, but you can get it for a really good price here. Very nice. And I guess we can go through there. It's nice laid out here. So we have access to the Core Ultra X7 358H. So that's the buy-in, like the lower end buy-in for the Panther, like where you get the really good iGPU. So I'm telling, for a lot of people, this is probably what you should buy because you're going to get incredible CPU performance, spoiler for the video, and incredible iGPU performance, spoiler for the video. That comes paired with the Intel Arc B390. That's the big boy. That's the brand new iGPU from Intel that's going to be trading blows with an RTX 4050. RTX 4050 from NVIDIA. And I will show you in this video, it does trade blows with the 4050, and there are many cases where it absolutely destroys the 4050 as well. So that's really nice. That's the most powerful true iGPU you can buy right now. There's the AMD 8060S, but I don't really count that. It's a very high wattage thing. It is technically an iGPU, but it's just a totally different type of product. So this is like the best, low wattage, extremely high performance GPU right now that money can buy. 32 gigabytes of RAM. Nice and fast, 2 terabytes of storage. I mean, this stuff's worth a fortune these days. And you get some nice ports and that kind of stuff, USB 4, generally speaking, good ports in that. It is a 16-inch screen. It's only 2K, which isn't the best. A little above 1080p, where you get 1280p. So that's good to see. You get a little bit extra resolution there at 16 inches. So it doesn't look like super pixelated. It is an OLED touchscreen as well. Nice and bright and all that. So lots of benefits here. I would like to see more screen options, but I mean, this is like brand new. These are just coming out right now. So let's jump in now and we'll actually have a look at the laptop. I am going to bring in an IdeaPad. This is a previous generation IdeaPad 5 Pro from Lenovo. The reason why, first of all, it's kind of a similar chassis, but the other thing is this one actually has an RTX 4050. And the RTX 4050 is what Intel Panther Lake is claimed to be equal to, more or less. So we'll actually should, in theory, get somewhere around the same graphical performance of this as this. I don't expect them to be the same. There's driver differences, there's game differences, optimizations, all that, but I do expect them to be comparable. 185H is a powerful CPU. I actually expect somewhat comparable, but I actually expect this one to be a little bit faster. And then we can just look at some chassis and stuff. Okay, so getting into the laptop was actually incredibly easy because it has these grills here, and you can literally just put in a little thing there and go, and then it pops up, and then you just do. Sometimes these really like slim, thin, especially metal type laptops can be very difficult to get into. We don't have that problem here, so that's lovely. Just that little grill there. It's for the speakers, by the way. So we'll come in here, flip that over, and you can see here all metal bottom there. Two fan intakes there. Gonna get lots of air in. Just some structural stuff, metal. Not too thick or anything like that, but enough to provide structure all around here. So that looks good. And there's a look inside of the laptop. So honestly, it looks pretty good for what it is. It is not going to be incredibly upgradable. Some laptops are, some are not. It does not have upgradable RAM. You can see the RAM is actually there on the motherboard. This one fortunately does come with a good amount of memory, 32 gigabytes. It's very important. I mean, memory is very expensive right now. I will be honest. We're in the RAM apocalypse. It's very expensive. But when you're getting into iGPU systems like this, especially high capability ones that are powerful, you do actually want to have a good amount of RAM because the video card, GPU, graphics, are going to share memory. So this 32 gigabytes of memory here is shared between the system, Windows and everything that runs in there, games, applications, whatever, and the graphics. So when you're doing graphically intensive stuff, video editing, gaming, whatever it is you're doing, those chips there are going to be drawn on by both. So I'm actually going to be able to set, because this is 32 gigabytes, I'll be able to set the system up with something like 8 or 12 gigabytes of video memory, and that'll still leave quite a bit left over for the system itself. You can customize it how you need. If you don't need as much, you can bring it down, but that's one of the nice things about 32 gigabytes or above, but it is solder here, so you can't add more. Just be aware of that. You can, however, upgrade the NVMe. There's only one NVMe in the system. It does have a nice metal heatsink on there, very common with HP's higher end stuff. I see it all the time, and that'll keep it nice and cool. You can upgrade that without any issues, no problem. I am going to, this is an interesting battery design, by the way. I've never seen a battery that has the terminals at the bottom here. It's the first time for everything. Like that. And the reason is I'm just taking this out. I don't want to short anything. Okay, take that out. And what I want to do here is just see what's under there. It's a pretty slim laptop, so I don't suspect it's going to be dual-sided safe, just because of how low it is. No, you're not going to be able to get a dual-sided in there. Not at all. Not because there's anything under the chip, but because the chip is physically, oh sorry, because the height here, the Z height of this is actually low. So you will not be able to get a dual-sided in here. 8 terabyte NVMe's are like $1,000, so I don't think a lot of people are going to care, at least not right now, because they're so expensive. So that's that there. Otherwise, upgradability, you can't upgrade the Wi-Fi. So there's one thing you can upgrade. Technically, you can upgrade that as well. It does have these really large speakers down here. We'll see how they sound, but these should be higher wattage speakers, and OmniBooks I generally find have pretty good speakers. So that's nice. That should sound okay. Now, other things of note in here, we do have a dual heat pipe setup with 2 fans, and they're pretty decent sized fans. The actual like area of them, or diameter of them, is good. And then you actually have this very dense fin structure. You can see those fins are very, very, very dense, and they have that curve to them, which I find reduces noise because it reduces air turbulence. So you move a lot of air. It doesn't necessarily mean it moves more air. It just that means that when it moves air, it's not a noisy mess. You're not going to hear any like woo, 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 or like those type really annoying sounds. So it will really help keep that down. The other thing is this is a Panther Lake chip here. Panther Lake is very efficient. It doesn't need as many watts as a lot of the competition. So the fact that this has 2 heat pipes and 2 big fans, I expect it to run very cool, even under maximum load. That's nice. Love to see that. Speakers, as I said, very good. You're going to get nice audio in theory out of them. So overall, it's looking pretty good inside for what it is. I mean, it's a 16-inch laptop. It's not meant to be a big upgradable beast or anything like that. It's not a gaming laptop like an Omen or something like that. But for what it is, it looks pretty good inside. Just be aware, not that it really will matter for a lot of people, you are stuck with 1 NVMe, so about 4 terabytes for most people. You can't put in a double-sided there. In this market, I don't think people are going to complain. It's just screwed up. But you do not have upgradable RAM, so you can buy into these. I haven't seen them under 32, which is really nice to see. Fortunately, there's no 16. It means the price is a little bit higher in this market, but you're not getting into an amount of RAM that would be unusable by the device. So what we can see here, close that up, nice clean package here. There's a lot of different customizable options you can get on this, as we already discussed. Lots of different customizable options you can get here. Very premium feeling, metal top, metal bottom, thin kind of metal in there. It's a different type of, seems like it might be a different type of metal, I'm not sure. As a result, you're not going to get the lightest laptop in the world, but that's okay. I mean, it's a 16-inch laptop, all metal, right? If I can get it to stand, let's go like this here. About 2,100 grams, so yeah, a little under 5 pounds. It's actually not terrible for a big 16-inch laptop. Doesn't have RTX graphics, right? Like a dedicated graphics, but the thing is the iGPU is so capable that you should be getting, comparable type performance as some of them like this over here, despite not needing the RTX graphics. So that's really nice there. You're only trying to cool down 1 chip. But it's a nice clean package. These HP OmniBooks are very premium overall. That's kind of just how they are. These HP OmniBooks are meant to be very premium laptops. That's kind of how they're designed, and it appears to be very premium. Little design elements here, like you get some of this stuff here. It's just meant to make it look a little bit more premium overall. It's kind of what it's designed, make it nice and clean, right? A little bit of design there. Some cuts out of the bezel, right? Like the way that it's kind of rounded out there. It's a premium laptop, the OmniBook from HP, so they're going to give it some of the more premium features here, right? Looks like there's a dual fan cutout there on the bottom. You can actually see, very nice. Nice rubber feet. Even that's well designed. You can see just an aesthetic looking laptop. They've put a lot of attention into the design of it because it's one of their premium laptops. Huge exhaust out the back there, basically the whole laptop. And it has this kind of cut there that just looks really nice. It's a very clean, slim looking laptop. I've actually never, I don't think I've ever had a 16-inch OmniBook. I've done the smaller ones and I like them, but this is the, I think this is the first 16-inch. I picked this up from Best Buy. I'll put some links in the video description down below to, you know, where I bought it. And I got this open box actually. You can buy this open box actually. This is brand new, but you can get it open box. So ports here, left side, 5 gigabit USB-A. That's good. You could run USB type NVMe or SSDs, that kind of stuff. So here's a 5 gigabit per second SSD. It's got games on it. You can run that off. That'll be nice and fast. Headphone jack. So nothing crazy on the left side. Nothing on the back. Just a nice clean OmniBook. And then more of your ports on the right there. It's not a super ported laptop, but you can see it's also not super thick. A little bit of chassis there, but it's meant to be a little bit thinner. Another USB-A over here. This is 10 gigabit over here, so that one's even faster, meaning that this one here is actually designed to run NVMe style enclosures rather than you know, like an SSD type thing that is running a SATA based speed. So this is an NVMe enclosure that will be running at 10 gigabit per second and 5 gigabit. So you can use both of them. That'll be nice and fast. Then of course you do have Thunderbolt right here. So that's your Thunderbolt 4 port. That's going to run obviously very fast. So you're going to be able to run things like NVMe enclosures that are going to run nice and quick, very, very fast storage. You'll be able to expand your connectivity with Thunderbolt 4, USB 4 type docks. This is a USB 4 or Thunderbolt 4 based thing. You get way more ports out of it. So it's easy to expand it, even though it doesn't have the most ports on it. You can expand it more. A 10 gigabit port USB-C, so another one of those, same speeds, and HDMI out. It has a very interesting keyboard, as you can see here. It has this sort of, let's turn that on, has this sort of rubberized texture here. So it's very, very, very rubberized. Feels nice. No true, like, not like a very large keycap, like traditional keycap or keycap separation. Here's the, you know, the idea pad, just whatever, just a very traditional, right? You have separation from the keys, just very traditional style keyboard, very traditional style separation there. This one here doesn't actually have that. There's only a little bit of separation between them. The keys are physically larger as a result. And when you first look at it, you might think like, I'm going to get lots of typos because, you know, there's not a lot of separation between it. But the chasm between them, chasm, it's a weird word, but we'll use chasm, in between them is enough that you can feel it. And they're big keys. So you're like, you're not going to have that type of issue. We'll get into the typing in a minute there. Grill up here. Nice clean interior here. Even the keyboard's designed to be clean there. Small chin, a little bit of a chin here with the HP thing, but helps bring the screen up slightly. Overall, the bezels aren't too bad. Obviously, very glossy screen. Physical camera kill switch there, very nice. Huge trackpad with a without any like glass covering or anything like that, but it still feels nice and smooth. We'll get to that in a moment there. Very clean. Okay, now the keyboard is a little bit funny on this laptop here. There's not that many laptops that use this style, but it is pretty nice once you get the hang of it. It just takes a little bit of time to get used to it, mainly because you know, they're not separated keys. So what you have here, as you can see, I'll just bring in this little pointing pen. You have the keys that are not really separated that much, right? There's just a tiny little separation between them. As a result, they're bigger keys, and you know, it's easy to kind of come over here. You can feel where they are, but there's not as much of a separation between them. They're bigger keys, which means that once, especially if you're a touch typist, you should be okay to keep your alignment here without messing up too much as a result. It's a rubberized texture, which is nice. It does feel nice to type on it as well. They're fairly decent, like thick keycaps. Like the actual keycaps are reasonably thick there, right? And there's a good amount of travel, not the most travel, but a good amount. Right. This is like a traditional keyboard over here, and we can zoom out here a little bit. Right, traditional keyboard over here. Just, you know, more, this actually has less travel and they're smaller keycaps, but, you know, traditional in terms of, you know, the spacing, that kind of thing, just a normal keyboard. But let's give this a quick type and see how I feel about it. Yeah, so I think I had one typo, right? I've typed on this like for a few minutes during my testing, and I've had one typo. I'm not a touch typist. Like I don't sit here and do like, I like have this weird bouncing thing. So it's a little harder for me when I start typing because, you know, I have to make sure my hands go back on the right spot, and I might come over here or something. And if I press, I might accidentally press that one because there's a little bit of overlap. But it takes me a few seconds to like be fine. And then honestly, if I used it for like half an hour to an hour, my brain would adjust and I'd be totally fine. I have used these type of keyboards many times, and it just takes me a little bit of time to go from, you know, what I'm using now over to here, right? Like if I'm using, you know, this style chiclet type thing that has more separation, and then all of a sudden over here, it just takes a brief moment and I get used to it, right? If I go to a mechanical keyboard, it takes a little bit and I get used to it. It's a very good keyboard. It feels snappy, it feels great. The separation over here, there's not a lot of separation between the numpad and the actual keyboard, but typically you're typing over here, you have to really come over to the numpad. So I might every now and then accidentally hit numlock, but it doesn't do anything. Like it's not, doesn't mess up what I'm typing. These is a really big numpad though. Like it's physically, they haven't shrunk down the keys. Some laptop manufacturers will shrink down the keys here so that they're a little bit smaller. Here they've just left it full. So if you do a lot of like number crunching on this type of laptop, that would probably be somewhat appealing to some people. It is a nice large trackpad. The arrow keys are embedded, but I haven't had any issues hitting them or anything like that. I would like it to be a little separated up, but they've gone for that very sleek look. It's the OmniBook. It's what they do. So overall, it's good. I don't have any problems with it at all. Now the trackpad is not a glass trackpad, but it is smooth. So this is obviously very smooth. And then you come over here, this also feels very smooth. It's a very large trackpad. There are bigger ones, but usually on like a MacBook Pro. I probably wouldn't like any bigger than this. When they start to get too big, it becomes like a joke, right? Now, it is a big trackpad. So when you're typing, your hands are on the trackpad, right? You can see that. But once your hands, like once you're actually on something and you're doing like this, like say my thumb is on here, see that's tracking, but this palm is not, because it knows it has good palm rejection. Okay, so here's a look at the webcam. It's got a really wide angle. I'm actually sitting pretty close. It's got a really wide angle, to be honest. Looks okay. It's nothing special, but it's not desaturating me and like overexposing. I don't have the most light coming from in front of me. Obviously, most of it's coming from beside and above, and I did that on purpose. It's not oversaturating me. It's not overexposing me, making me desaturated. So it looks pretty good, and the polling rate looks good. So it'll be nice for meetings. I mean, honestly, really anything. It's going to be get the job done. It's not going to match up to some professional 4K camera or something like that, but it's a good camera overall. I like it. We'll see how the audio sounds, but the camera itself is more than satisfactory. Now there is one singular critique of this laptop, specifically my model, and that is the screen. But it's not like the most pixel dense. It's okay. I used this IdeaPad over here, not this physical unit, but I used this model here for like probably about a month back in the summer just to kind of see what it was like, and it's the same resolution, and honestly it was fine. I definitely prefer 1600p though, but if it was 1080p, like I've used many 16-inch 1080ps, and they start to become a little pixelated, and you're like, all right, it's a bit pixely. But at this resolution here, you know, 1080p, 1280p, it's okay. It is a 120 hertz refresh. You can see it's reflective. It is a 120 hertz refresh, so it's decent overall. Like 120 hertz refresh. It is an OLED screen, high color space, not the finest resolution, but some people don't care. Now, the problem that I have with it is you can't really see it here. Maybe if I bring in the camera, like let's bring in the camera, there is a screen door effect, but only on white. Can you see that? Like not that like moire thing that's going on, but you can see that kind of grid. It's not that noticeable in person, but it is there. I can notice the screen door effect on white, and I don't like that. I don't like that at all. That actually, it kind of makes me not want this specific model. I wouldn't use this specific screen as my daily driver, because I'm bothered by that. And that's because it's a touchscreen, right? It's a touchscreen, OLED, and you know, very bright, all that kind of stuff. But there is that pattern there. I suspect a lot of people will not care. Probably most people won't care, but I have to make you aware of it because me personally, I don't like it. I don't like that effect. It really bothers me. I can see it here, but then when you go with like even like that, it becomes less apparent. You can't see it really. I can't see it at all anymore, right? Like completely invisible here. It's really only when you're on white and you can see it. It's very obvious to me. Now, fortunately, this thing has two screen options. You know, the CPU options, the RAM options, blah, 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 blah. So this is the screen here, right? 1280p, multi-touch, 120 hertz, high response, obviously very good colors, 100% DCI-P3, fantastic, nice and bright, whatever. But it has that pattern. I can see it here. And some people won't care. Some people will. However, this is the screen I would buy, which seems crazy. People think I'm crazy, but I'm seeing more and more people be like, you know, we don't necessarily need the OLED. There's a lot of people moving towards it. It's a higher resolution, 1600p, so it's going to be crisper. If you're a creator, you're going to love that. It's even higher refresh, 240 hertz. That's a very high refresh rate, right? 240 hertz. Very good. If you're a gamer, you can throw it in a lower resolution and get that high refresh. Response time's not as good. Obviously, OLEDs have the highest response time, but it's still not bad. It's not a gaming per se. It's an IPS, which means you have zero risk or almost zero risk of burn-in, no PWM and flicker, no potential any of the other issues there, so you don't have any of that. It's also anti-glare, and it's brighter. And it's also very good color space. It's not 100% DCI-P, but it's 100% sRGB. So actually, interestingly, for creators and professionals who are doing graphic stuff, I recommend this one because it's finer resolution. It's going to be IPS, which means you don't have to worry about burn-in or anything like that if you leave persistent stuff on the screen for very long periods of time. IPS and anti-glare means that it's going to be much better in a bright environment. It's a brighter screen, physically a brighter screen, but you also have anti-glare, anti-reflection. So, you know, when you're in a bright professional environment, it's going to be less likely to have glare and problems like that. And to be honest, actually for professional work, DCI-P3 is better for like media consumption, gaming, movies. It just, you get a little bit more better in the reds, but sRGB is actually better for like professional work because it's more accurate in terms of, you know, what the average graphic design, that kind of stuff. It's often published in sRGB. So just be aware of that. My gripes with the laptop are very easily solved by just getting the other screen, which is what I would do. I just got a really good price on this one, and I kind of wanted to look at the OLED, the low resolution OLED. Now, one of the nice things about it as a result, though, let's turn this up here actually so we don't get the compression. Like I said, if you're okay with that little bit of that screen door effect and you don't mind that slightly low resolution, which for gaming is probably fine because you don't have to use much scaling, it is a very vibrant screen. Glossy and 100% DCI-P3 means that you're going to get extremely vibrant reds. Truly super vibrant reds, just absolute royal reds. Like this is super vibrant here, all these reds here, right? Beautiful. And the blacks, like that's not what I see. I see something like that there. It is a reflective screen, right? You can see me reflective. If you start to turn off lights, you know, really killed down some of the reflection there, especially in a dark room, you'll end up having a better time with the screen freaks out with OLEDs. Unfortunately, it's really hard to record OLEDs in a black scene because there's actually no physical light coming out of there. So my camera sees this. It's only seeing light out of this. So it really screw with the exposure. It's just unfortunate. It's just really hard to film OLEDs. It's just the way that it is. Now it's super dark. So anyway, so yeah, it's a beautiful screen in that regards, obviously. Come over here and we have also very vibrant greens, nice and bright, beautiful screen, right? So my negatives with it are, for me personally, I prefer non-glossy. That's why my HP Omen Max is non-glossy. And just because of recording, that kind of stuff, I don't like the gloss. It's hard to record, that kind of stuff. And for me, you know, I like the finer resolution and, you know, not getting that kind of screen door thing because I don't care about touchscreens. Touchscreen means nothing to me. Some people like it, some people don't. So it's a bit of a mix on the screen. I think that people, they have their options, right? So if you don't care about what I was saying as the negatives, get the OLED. You'll be totally fine. You'll love it. Go into a Best Buy or whatever and check it out. That's where I got mine from. Okay, so we'll test the audio here. See, probably gonna get pretty loud, so watch your headphones. Yeah, it's gonna get quite loud. They're actually really good speakers. Now, they're actually not as loud as I thought they would be, which is fine. That's like when you put them at max volume, it's in range of damaging your hearing, regardless. So I don't need more than that. And even in like an open room, it's going to fill the room. they sound fantastic. At full volume, they don't have any tinniness or like rattle or hollowness or any problems with that loud volume, which is fantastic. And throughout, whether it's quiet or loud, they sound very good. They sound nice and rich. You have good low end, actually very good low end, to be honest, which is not surprising for this class of laptop. So you get very good low end. The bass is there, like not as much bass as like a MacBook Pro 16-inch or anything like that, obviously, but still very good. Very, very good, especially for a Windows laptop. Mid-range is very full, rich, and the high end is nice and clear with no tinniness. So actually, I mean, excellent audio. It was as expected. I've tested the smaller OmniBooks, and they were very good. I assumed that the 16-inch would be at least as good, if not better. So yeah, good audio. So, I mean, yeah, it makes sense. It's an OmniBook. The screen's very good. The audio is very good. Personally, I would go for the IPS screen. That's just me. You may think I'm crazy. I don't know. Some people are like big OLED fanatics. They can go for that one, but overall good. Now, often when I do battery life on these, I'll do kind of like a, I don't know, benchmark section, which I will still have, either before this or after this. We'll find out. The battery life on this thing appears to be crazy. Okay, so I've just been like idling here for a really long time. Watch this. So I charged it up. Where'd you go? And look at this. 96, 100, 100, 100. Now, I haven't been really doing anything. I've just been like, will it actually maintain that idle? This is a non-debloated system. Like I just set this up and I've done some work. There's still like all the software and stuff on it, whatever. And, you know, full brightness. This is 100% brightness. And the idle is, you can see here, around slightly under 3 watts. The average is about 3 watts. So what you do is you divide out the battery, right? So we have our battery, it's a 70 watt hour battery, and you just use some simple math, right? And you can see here that you're going to get 1,480 minutes. I mean, it's more than 20 hours, but let's get the exact number here. 1,479 divided by 60. So 24 hours of battery life on idle, but 24 hours of battery life. Idle with the screen on doing things. Pretty impressive. Okay, so that's that. We can see this is 100%, whatever. Okay, so let's start doing stuff now. Now, I want to show this here. You can see when you do stuff, the wattage goes up for a moment, and then eventually it'll drop back down. Now, every CPU will do that, right? You put it under a little bit of load, the wattage goes up, it does something, and then it will kind of what I call spin down. And you can see here how fast it spins down. If you have an HX chip or even a lot of H chips, from AMD, I wouldn't say Intel because they're getting better now, but you know, AMD, for example, or previous generation Intel especially was garbage. But you can see here, I mean, it spins down really fast, right? So we can come in here, you know, let's just like do some stuff. We'll come in here, we'll do some browsing, get the internet up here. So we'll come in, we'll put HP OmniBook. And you can see it, you know, it goes up 13, it went up to 13 for like a second, and then it went right back down, right? There's a lag here, by the way. It takes a moment for it to report. So it went up for a second and it's back down to 3, right? Let's zoom in here so you guys can get a better look at it, because this is what's important here. The spin down time is very fast. It's hard to describe, like I can't really show it unless I do it live. That's why I'm doing it this way. And people will do like I did, like an all-day battery test and see how long it lasts. Well, I don't know what you're doing when you do that, right? Like, okay, I do YouTube tests, which is fine. That's pretty straightforward. But if I'm actually using the laptop, it's hard for me to show you what's going on here. Right, so it goes up, let's see how much it goes up there to load that web page. Should go up to 10 or 12. Up to 10, loads the web page, and then it will go back down. Give it a sec. See how long it takes to spin down. Boom, back down. Right? So it only takes a moment for it to go. It also only went up to 10. If it was an HX chip or some less efficient chip, it would go up much higher. It might go up to 20, 25, because it needs more power to do what it needs to do. Even Lunar Lake was like that. It wasn't as powerful of a CPU, so it took a little bit more effort, more energy. It was less efficient to get it to do something. More power to do the same workload, meaning the power would go up higher. It would still come down, but it would either, you know, if it was a non-Lunar Lake chip, it would take a long time to come down. A lot of the times you might have to wait like 20 seconds for that battery to spin back down. The other thing is, you know, it might have to actually use more watts to get the workload done, right? So, you know, we're scrolling around here, doing some of that stuff here, and it's not really doing much, right? Like it'll go up, of course, because like it's rendering stuff, right? Come in here, open up some notepad stuff. You know, this is what I'm trying to like show you guys some live stuff rather than throw some benchmark bar charts up onto a website and be like, here, look at this, my battery life, right? Okay, so we're using the laptop, right? Like we're coming in here, we're using it. This is like workflow. This is what you would do. This is the type of stuff you'd probably do on battery, right? Best Buy HP OmniBook. I can't type. 390H. That's not right. B390. Can get these numbers down in my head. This is what I bought. All right. Nope. Okay. See, so it goes up to 13. It'll load in all the graphics. Load everything in. A little bit heavier website here. Back down. Boom. We're back down. There. It brings up HP. Like, why would I want to go on Reddit? Like, why would I want to go to whatever those other websites were? I want to see the actual laptops. This is a laptop I'm reviewing. All the specs here. All right. I mean, it's still going to give us 12 hours of doing what I'm doing here. This is an estimate. It'll go up and down, up and down, up and down. And, when I rest on something and I start reading it, it'll go back down, right? So I'm sitting here for a minute reading. Or if I come over here, I'm typing, right? Like typing a document doesn't use much watts. So typing up document on the HP OmniBook, perhaps about the HP OmniBook. I am typing while reaching around the camera with my right hand, so it is very awkward. Anyways, yeah, so you can see like when I'm typing, it doesn't use any watts, right? Writing an essay, that kind of stuff will go up to, maybe now we'll go up to 20 hours or something like that, right? Like it's going back up. Now we're at 13, 14 hours, go up to 20 hours. And that's the thing. People will like look at these battery estimates. It doesn't tell you too much because it fluctuates too much. But you can see here, once you actually start using the battery, right? You actually start using it, it'll go up and down, right? But what's important to see here is, doing stuff on the laptop, not like heavy workflow. Like I'm not doing heavy work here. I'm just using the laptop. Yeah, we're using 5 to 6 watts, right? 5 to 6 watts, 70 watt hour battery. Divide that out. What is that? That's between 10 and 12 hours of battery life. And that matches. There's not a lot of people who have done Panther Lake stuff. Some of the like Chinese testers who did it beforehand, like really, extensive testing, they found about the same. They were getting 10, 12, 14 hours, depending on the laptop. Laptop like this with this kind of battery, I would expect, honestly, 12 to 14 hours of real world use, like school, business, that kind of stuff. What is 12 to 14 hours? That's more than all day battery. That means you go to class, for example, at, let's just say a really early day. You're there at 9 o'clock doing work. And even you have a night class. So you're there all day. You're there for 12 hours. You still have battery life. You're going to be probably pushing it around the 12-hour mark. But I mean, at no point in 12 hours did you have a USB-C charger like you can plug in for a couple minutes and get some extra juice. This is true all day battery. If you have a work day, what's a work day? 8 hours? Something like that. You'll have tons of juice left over, right? This is real world battery use. Okay. And I'm not gaming on it. You can actually game on this on battery because it's such an efficient chip. It'll burn faster. You'll burn, 20, 25 watts, maybe even 30. And then, you'll burn your battery in 2.5 hours, but you're still gaming for 2.5 hours on battery, right? I mean, you can watch this video. There you go. Plug him. Watch him after you watch me. Let's, like here, we're not using any watts, right? 5 watts, 6 watts. Does he have the same model as me here? He does. Good. Yeah, so it's the same thing. I'm going to watch this video after. See what he says. You can scrub through here a little bit. There's a nice red couch. Aesthetic. Ooh, he's ditched the leather jacket. He's into the black thing. Black shirt. Now this is like, I'm scrubbing through. Look at that. It's like 5 to 6 watts, right? Let's come over here. We'll watch it for a moment here. Look at this. Look at these. Look how quickly it drops down. 4 watts. I didn't mean to click that. Hey, how did I do that? What the hell? I didn't know you could do that. What? I literally just learned something on this review. Look at that. I could actually use this from now on and just plot out my average battery usage. Bruh. My clicking on the screen made me learn something here today. Anyways, so yeah, look at that. Like, what are we idling at here? Not idling, sorry. What are we YouTubing here at? 1080p, 60 YouTube. Volume's turned off a little bit, but add a watt or something if you have it cranked up all the way. and we're at 4 watts, right? So that's going to give you, I mean, just average that out, 12, 14, 16 hours battery life on YouTube. If you actually like once the YouTube video is playing, we've scrubbed through, like we've actually, we got to the point where it's buffered, we're down to 3 to 4 watts. On that note, let's come in here, and I am just curious, what actually happens if we absolutely blast this system? Like I'm talking blast it on battery. So we're going to come down here, okay? We're going to go like that, and we're going to run Cinebench on battery, okay? I don't actually know what the battery will drain. I have no clue. So we're going to come in here, we're going to run this, see what the battery is here. It should be like 30 watts, I'd guess. Maybe 35. Yeah, 40. So 40 watts Cinebench. This is 100% usage. Like the CPU is being obliterated right now, right? Like 100, where are we at here? CPU, we're at 30 watts on the CPU, right? We're slamming it. 100% core usage on the CPU. This is like, even gaming won't hit your system at 100% unless you're really taxing it, right? And it went back down. So there we go. That was the initial boost. Every CPU has boost. All right. So CPU boost went for a moment. And even with this, it's also quiet. You can hear this is the battery. The fan hasn't even turned on yet. 25-ish watts or so under full Cinebench here with the system ripping. So I can run Cinebench here for almost 3 hours. That's crazy. Come on. That's crazy. That's crazy. And yeah, the scores went down. You can see, we went from 20,000 down to 13,000, but it's still faster than Lunar Lake. 13,000 is crazy for battery Cinebench. Okay, now piggybacking off that that Cinebench we were just talking about. So this is the full run Cinebench. You can see there we got just shy of 20,000. Crazy. Lunar Lake, the previous generation, was getting 10,000. Arrow Lake, which was my really my favorite chip of 2025, like no contest, 255H, 285H, you were getting about 20,000, which is crazy. It's so good. And they had like a pretty damn good iGPU. They were efficient and all that. Lunar Lake was the one that was like, the battery king, but it was lacking in CPU compute. You were getting 10,000, you're getting half that speed. So here we've taken the two. We've taken Arrow Lake and combined the power of Arrow Lake with the efficiency of Panther Lake, and we've created something that is as powerful as Arrow Lake, but as efficient on battery as Lunar Lake, and has an iGPU that is second only to the AMD 395. Where's my AMD 395? 1 second. The only way you're going to get a better machine is if you get yourself an AMD 395 mini PC or something like that can cost, $3,000, and right, even like laptops with HX 395, they are, $2,500 to $3,000. And they're not as efficient, not even close to as efficient as this, not even close. Yes, the CPU is more powerful, and the iGPU is slightly more powerful, but they're not even in the same realm of existence. So anyways, let's come in here. We're going to run this. We know what the score can do now here. I do want to see what the hardware info gives us for wattages under full load. Okay, so here we are, we're running for a little while. You can see here, the wattages here sustained are 60 watts. Okay, so 60 watts there. It's giving us, that 20,000 score around there. This is where things get interesting. On battery, we were down to 25 watts, right? So we went down 25 watts. That is around a 65% wattage drop, right? About 60 watts, 60% of the full watts, or maybe 65, based on that bouncing around a little bit there, okay? So we went down by well over 50% wattages, but we did not lose 50% performance, right? Like you can just bring that up right here. So we went down to 25 watts, right? From 65. So we lost about, around 60 to 65. Yeah, but we lost about 65% wattages, give or take. 65% wattages, right? That's a big drop. So we are at less than half the amount of watts. And the score, what was it, 13,500, something like that? Divided by 20,000. Look at that. So we lost about 65% of the power requirement, and we only lost about 35% of the performance. So it doesn't go like one for one. So as the power goes down, the score goes down with it. It doesn't work that way. As the power goes down like this, the score comes down at a slower curve. So we end up with efficiency. That's what's really nice here. So you can run these things on battery power and still get really good performance. And if you need that extra oomph, you can plug it in. It might be exaggerated on audio on the microphone, but 4 dB drop is pretty big, to be honest. Let's do a quick run here. I'm just curious what the score will be on a single run on this balanced mode here, or like I'd call it like somewhere in the middle where we're at 55 watts and 50 watts instead of, you know, those higher watts. Let's see what we can get here. So yeah, it's better than I thought. So 18,000 basically. Yeah, I mean, that's showing you how efficient these Lunar Lake chips are, right? Like you can come down here and it basically, as you decrease the watts, it will drop down to, you know, 13,000 or so. But the wattage drop is not linearly correlated to the performance drop. And that's what you want to see. Yeah, so normally I do like a benchmark section on its own, but since we did the battery and the Cinebench stuff all live, because I really want to show the like dynamic nature of the Panther Lake, because this is my first time running Panther Lake, obviously, and there's not a lot of people who have used it yet. So, you know, it's good to see stuff kind of in live. So we already know what the Cinebench can do. We already did that. We already know what the battery can do. We already talked about that. Let's just look at the included SSD. It's fast, right? So we're getting that SK Hynix. SK Hynix is a great brand. PVC-10, never used that one before myself, but it's a Gen 4 drive, as you can see here, upper tier Gen 4, very fast reads, pretty good writes. I'll look up that specific and see what it is, but good fast SSD in there, very nice. Wi-Fi is as good as you're gonna get in my area. I don't have the best. Look at that upload, it's terrible. That's as good as my Wi-Fi gets, really. Like if I was closer, I might be able to get 600, but I just don't have the best signal. So despite the fact that I have crap Wi-Fi, crap internet at this place that I'm at right now, it's good, right? The uploads are just trash, downloads are fine. So good, no problems there. I'm pretty happy with that. So, I mean, yeah, maybe what we can do now is we can jump into some video editing and gaming and show what this thing can do under, you know, some real world workloads. Okay, so let's do a little bit of video editing. That's going to be one of the primary uses for this very capable, very, very, very capable CPU, incredibly capable iGPU efficiency. Now, people always talk about NVIDIA this and NVIDIA that, but there's one king when it comes to professional work, and that's Intel. Sorry to tell you. The dollar per performance, the efficiency per performance, all that kind of stuff, it's actually typically comes out Intel on top, just so you know. Yeah, if you get yourself a RTX 5090 desktop, it's going to beat out a B390 in video encoding, obviously. But that's not comparable, right? People will always, because they don't necessarily know what they're talking about, always push for NVIDIA this, NVIDIA that. Yeah, NVIDIA does enable faster video editing for sure. But these iGPUs, especially the Intel ones, are getting so damn good that you can do some pretty impressive stuff. So we'll come in here. Now, I haven't encoded with this yet. I've done tons of Lunar Lake and Arrow Lake. I used Arrow Lake for like 8 months. I was my own primary driver. So here's a 26-minute video. It's 4K 60. Let's bring this in here. Let's watch how fast that this is able to be processed. So already, audio done. 26-minute video. What was that? 2 seconds? Fully processed. Audio, video, done. That was really fast, actually. I'm kind of shocked, actually, how fast that was. Yeah, so let's come in here. We'll do some stuff. Like, we'll do some work here, right? Get some splits up here. Get some transitions in here. This is very efficient and very snappy. Right now, I'm using an AMD system. It's not, and it's an AMD with a 375. AMD 375, which is a very capable AMD CPU and does not feel remotely as snappy as this. Not even close. Not even close. This feels way snappier. Sadly. It's an HP Omen too, so it is an HP. It's not a bad laptop by any means, obviously very good. But the chip, the 375 chip, I don't think is as good as this, straight up. I just find that Intel is just better for video editing, sorry to tell you. Maybe if you get into a desktop, like an AMD 9950 HX3D, 9950 X3D desktop, which I have, I mean, that's more powerful, obviously, but it's just not, it's just, I don't know what it is about the Intel stuff, it just feels so efficient. So the editing process is going to be incredibly fast, right? We have a very powerful CPU here. Intel specifically focuses on productivity now. Yes, they're good for gaming and all that too, but Intel has been for quite a long time, obviously focusing on professional work. And with AMD really pushing the gaming stuff on desktop, especially, the X3D stuff, Intel has realized, they make their money, they make their bread on professional stuff because they're effing good at it. put it that way. So here's a 3-track 4K 60. How long is that around? I don't know, 8 minutes or something like that. Actually, here, let's make it easily divisible in my head. Let's make it about 5-ish minutes approximately, like that. Okay, I'll just get rid of that extra stuff there. It's just easier for quick math. Okay, so we'll come in here, we'll just throw that on the desktop here. Now this is not the most efficient program, by the way. It's actually kind of like heavy, put it that way. So we'll come in here, we'll go HEVC, which is a heavier thing. You could do AV1 if you wanted, but that's fine. 4K 60. I usually find that for some reason 59.94 and this program works faster. Don't ask me why. Anyways, and you come in here and this has Intel QuickSync video encoding, which is awesome. It's very good. There's a reason why, like the Intel B580 desktop, A770, and even the little ones. Like I have a little B50 Creator. You can get like the little A380s, and there's a reason that people put those little Intel GPUs in their systems, even if they have like a beefy gaming GPU, because they're so damn efficient when it comes to encoding and decoding. Both of them, they are so efficient with encoding and decoding. It's what Intel is good at. Right? Like they don't need a quad encoder from NVIDIA on a GPU that costs $4,000 to get video editing done, right? It's just, and Intel is very good. This is what they do. So 10-minute video, sorry, 5-minute video is going to take 2.5. So 10-minute video would be 5 minutes. So we'll just stop it. So yeah, it's whatever my video would be, the length of it, I would be able to run it in half. I'm going to just pause. I'm going to actually go grab my laptop and I want to do that on this real quick. I'm curious now. Okay, so let's do that again. We're plugged in here. This is an RTX 5060 based Omen with a HX 375. Video processing took about the same. Desktop. Okay, so same thing. It's all the same. Make sure we're encoding with NVIDIA in here. Right, so we'll go NVIDIA encoder. Could do AMD on the iGPU, but we're going to go with the dedicated graphics here. Kind of curious what the iGPU would do, to be honest. Yeah, almost exactly a minute. It's interesting. So what we're going to see here from this is, where the NVIDIA dedicated graphics, you get the 5060 dedicated modern encoders here. It is going to be faster. It'll be a little over a minute here. Let's see. Yeah, a little over a minute there. So it's around twice as fast, minute 10 versus 2.5 or whatever. So it's about twice as fast. So, but that's where things are interesting. So we're getting a case where the NVIDIA GPU is, obviously it's faster. I mean, it's dedicated graphics, and it is twice as fast as the Panther Lake. But the Panther Lake, I mean, this is a 5060. This is a RTX 5060 laptop that runs at 100 watts for the GPU, right? It runs at 100 watts. It's going to be faster. It's also dedicated graphics, right? I am curious to see, this is the AMD HX 375. So that is the 890M iGPU, which is the fastest AMD iGPU money can buy, unless you get the 395, which is kind of not the same thing. It's like a straight up. Okay, we're coming back, and as expected, the AMD GPU is slower. So the 890, now we've surpassed Panther Lake. So that was where the Panther Lake one stopped. The Panther Lake, it's the raw CPU compute is approximately the same between an HX 375 and the Panther Lake, approximately. But the iGPU is much slower here. So the 890M, outside of the AMD, 8060S, 395 Max, yada, 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 that you would find in something like, I'll pick this up again, this heavy ass, HP. Great little machine, but that's a totally different type of thing. Yeah, obviously, it's a totally different realm, but that's going to be closer to what you'd get out of the Panther Lake. So it's slower, right? So obviously we can see, dedicated NVIDIA RTX graphics are going to be about approximately twice as fast as Panther Lake. A little bit around there, around twice as fast, put it that way. So, if you really need to do heavy video editing, I'm talking like 8K video, if you're doing like 2-hour long videos, I don't often do that. My videos can be pretty long, but typically they're like, I don't know, 30 minutes, 20 minutes, something like that. Laptop reviews being longer, maybe like 50 minutes on the longest laptop reviews. So, on NVIDIA, it would take, maybe 15 minutes to output. On Panther Lake, it might take 25 or 30 minutes or something like that, which is not a big deal. The AMD one would be even slower. So, it'd be like 40, 45 minutes. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play with some of the power modes. Now the claim was not that the Panther Lake matches a full bore 4050, like 80 watts or whatever it would be. You can see here we're at that 80 watts. The claim was that it would match a lower wattage one. So let's see what we can do here. So we'll come in here. Okay, we're set to high. Okay, let's go here, see what we can get here. Whoa. So, that was a big drop. It might be okay. I mean, we're hitting a pretty significant VRAM wall there. And you can see here, I'm not sure how it'll perform overall, but yeah, you can see the performance is quite bad on it's a VRAM issue. So, our average there for a moment there was pretty high, but now it's unplayable. Look how laggy that is. Wow. It's a VRAM limit, right? So, yeah, we have the power to run this thing, and this is in full power. See how the GPU has now dropped down? It went from 70, 80 watts, and we're down to like 50 because it's not actually taxing the GPU anymore, because no longer is the limitation the GPU's raw compute, like how much compute the GPU has. It's actually VRAM. Look at the terrible lows, right? So it's a bit disingenuous for people to say that the Panther Lake matches a Max-Q 4050, because that's not actually true. It might match it in raw compute on average, generally speaking, but the biggest issue with the 4050 is it's a 6 gigabyte VRAM GPU. So you're going to run into GPU VRAM issues, right? Very, very common in AAA titles. And look at this, we're at 21 FPS, right? It's very bad. This is very bad performance. Well below what the Panther Lake can do, just so you know. We'll cut into that in a moment, but it's disingenuous, right? People will say, the 4050 matches the Panther Lake approximately Max-Q. Well, no. I mean, maybe that's in esports titles, right? Like esports gaming, where the VRAM limitations are non-existent because you're running at, 1080p extra low, and the games themselves aren't VRAM limited, generally speaking. But we're in 2026 now. A lot of the games that came out in 2025, even 2024, are very VRAM heavy, and we're getting into games now that are even more VRAM heavy. These GPUs have the chops to run these games at reasonable FPS, if you can have the VRAM. This is a 6 gigabyte limitation here. We cannot, it doesn't matter what we do here, we can't do anything more. So here, you'll see in a moment, I've already tested the Panther Lake. I'm just doing this out of order. The Panther Lake is significantly faster here. Now, let's try something. You may say, well, maybe it is the raw performance of the GPU. It's actually not. 1080p high is not out of the realm of a 4050. But what it is it's VRAM. So we'll come down here, we'll actually turn on upscaling. We'll turn on DLSS. Now this is not going to help the VRAM. We'll even turn it way up to performance. See, the VRAM is still a problem. It might increase in performance, I'm not sure, but let's see, right? What did we gain there? It still is a laggy mess. Like when I move, it doesn't really show up on camera, but there's this like severe input latency, right? And yeah, our lows came up slightly here, but we're still struggling, right? We did get our VRAM down a little bit there, but I suspect that we're still running to some type of bottom. So, you're able to throw it in performance. Let's throw it back into, let's try balanced here. That's a lot of scaling, performance scaling. Now, I'm not totally against scaling, but that is a lot of scaling, to be honest. To be quite honest, it's a lot. Right? It's really struggling, even with the scaling. Right? It's really, and you can see the GPU is not pulling a lot of watts, right? It's only pulling 45 watts. This GPU on this system is not a 45 watt limitation on the GPU, right? It can do more, but we don't have the VRAM to do it, right? We're running into a limitation where VRAM is the limitation. And that's what we've been saying. I've been saying this for years. The worst feeling in the world is when you hit a VRAM bottleneck before you hit a GPU bottleneck. The raw compute of the GPU should always be the limitation, not the system memory, the virtual memory, because that's a terrible feeling. It's like I ran into VRAM limitations, but I left all this performance on the table. That's a terrible feeling. It's a terrible feeling. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back here. There's nothing we can do. If we're on high, a game just won't run well, right? You can throw in tons of scaling. It's not going to make a difference. Now, if you throw this down to normal, see that VRAM came down over here? It dropped down. So we'll come down here. We can actually turn off scaling. And I think we'll actually be fine. I actually think we'll be fine native. I don't know what we're going to get, but I suspect it's going to be reasonable, right? Because the 4050, it's a 4050. It's a 4050, RTX 4050. Right? It should be fine for 1080p gaming. On medium, right? And now, see the VRAM? Now we're not hitting that VRAM limitation anymore. In theory, we're not hitting that VRAM limitation. It's still getting up. It's creeping up there. It's creeping up there. Now, some games, just so you know, I'll pause for a sec. Some games, when you hit a VRAM limitation, your performance tanks. Okay? VRAM limit, tank performance. FPS goes down, micro stutter. Some games, it doesn't do that. So I pointed out years ago in Hogwarts Legacy when it first came out, before any of the like really big channels talked about it, and they were putting out these benchmarks, and I was like, yeah, but you're missing the point. In Hogwarts Legacy, it actually did not decrease the FPS. It detexturized. So it turned the game from a beautiful, 2023 PC title or 2024 or whatever it was, and it turned it into a PlayStation 1 title. And I tested it actually on a 4050. That's where I first noticed it, because I was hitting a VRAM limitation. It was literally on a 4050, RTX 4050. And I did a whole section of the video where I was like, look at it. And I was telling people, you can't look at these damn bar charts. The bar charts lie. It just tells you nothing. That's why I show raw footage here, because the bar chart will hide the fact that, okay, maybe in this game you do get really terrible performance. And so it would show up on a bar chart where it's like, look at the lows are terrible. We hit a VRAM limitation. But then in the next game, let's say Hogwarts Legacy, when you hit a VRAM limitation, it doesn't affect the performance in terms of FPS at all. The game will maintain the same, 50, 60 FPS. But what it does do is the textures turn into garbage to actually decrease the VRAM. So even though you have it on ultra, it just says, nope, I'm not give you ultra, I'm giving you ultra low. It just forces you into that scenario, right? And so it doesn't even matter what settings you're at. It just forces you to decrease the way the game looks, which in some cases might be better. I mean, yeah, it does screw up the way the game looks, but it makes it playable. So you can see here, now we're fine, right? All I did was I decreased the performance, the settings to normal, and I actually turned off scaling. So medium or normal with no scaling should be actually, theoretically, it should be harder to run than high with performance scaling, but it didn't matter. The performance scaling was incapable of making the game run well because we were hitting a VRAM limitation, right? And now we're fine. So the 4050 here on 1080p medium, is it 1080p? This game only has like those resolutions, right? Let's just double check that. Yeah, 1080p. Just double check, because the screen is not 1080p. But anyways, in this game, right, I suspect now when we test the Panther Lake will be actually slower on normal. This is my suspicion. Will be slower on normal than the 4050 because no longer is the VRAM limitation, but the Panther Lake will perform on high where the RTX can no longer perform because of the VRAM limitation. Now, let me show you one more thing. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to go function Q. This laptop has performance modes. This is a max Q GPU now, and this is approximately where they say the Panther Lake should be performing around. It's plus or minus. Not every game is the same. Some games prefer NVIDIA, some games prefer AMD, some games prefer an Intel. It just depends. It depends on the game. So, but when you bring all the games, you put them in a blender and you mash them all up, on average, the Panther Lake should be around the performance of a 4050. I think in some cases it'll be slower just because there's more NVIDIA optimized titles. That's fine. But then there's also the VRAM limitation where the RTX GPU just literally implodes as incapable of playing the game at a reasonable performance because of that. And at that point, the Panther Lake might be 10 times faster, right? It just depends on the game. So we're going to drop this down even lower. Now, this is pretty low now. Turn the brightness up, like 20 watts. Right now, remember, the Panther Lake the whole chip only runs at 20 watts. So here we have 20 watts on the GPU, and the CPU is also running, right? Sucking up watts. We're actually using more power here. Right, so if you threw this on a handheld and you're like, well, I want to be able to game on 22 watts, well, you can't. And let me show you something here. Okay, now, let me show you guys something here. So here, we're on low wattage mode. This is the lowest the system can do. And, the performance is terrible. But you can see here, the GPU is pulling 22 watts, which is what the entire Panther Lake pulls under full max. And the CPU is pulling 20. So even like here, on the lowest we can possibly go, we're at 40 to 42 watts on the GPU and CPU combined, which is double what the Panther Lake needs. And the performance is horrendous. Okay, so it's not even close to as efficient, right? When you go down to the watts that the Panther Lake uses, for example, in a laptop like this or a handheld, meaning you can actually game on battery for hours, it's unplayable. Like this is unplayable, right? So we got to go up into balance mode at minimum. Balance mode is a huge performance jump, obviously. But now we're at 30-ish, should be around 30-ish, 25 to 30 watts on the CPU, approximately. Let's see. No, it's going a little lower. So 20, we'll say 20. We'll be kind. 20 and 53. So now we're at 72 to 75 watts, maybe even 80 watts. So we'll say a range between 70 and 80 watts to get this level of performance. Whereas the Panther Lake's only using 2022, right? So it's 4 times more watts on the 4050 to get about the same performance on the Panther Lake. And if we go into, you know, full mode, right, now we're going to be way up. GPU is pulling 75 watts, and down here, I don't know what it'll settle at, but it looks like it's going to be around 25 or something. So here, you know, we're over 100 watts, right? So we're like 5 times more wattage being used on the RTX system. And you also have it's not quite as powerful. It's close, but it's not quite as powerful. But look at the performance here. Look at the performance here. This is the same setting where we were getting 20 and lows of like 7 on the NVIDIA GPU, right? This is 1080p high native, right? And look at the VRAM. Pause. Look at the VRAM. I gave it 10, I think. I could have given it 12. I could have given it 16, but I was like, for the games I'm going to be testing, honestly, 10 is enough. It'll be fine. It just gives it that little extra, right? The other GPU has 6, so I mean, even 8 would have been okay. But I mean, I know that this GPU can push more than 8 in terms of frames. But look at this. What is the performance here? 14. It's about 5 times faster, and even on the actual FPS, it's much faster. Right? It also doesn't feel it feels like it's running at 30 FPS, which it is, and it's like the lows are 28 and the average is 30, or the average is 36, 37. So this is like a good 30 FPS to 35 FPS experience. We're not hitting VRAM limits, so it's absolutely shitting on the NVIDIA GPU. Now here's the thing, because we're not hitting a VRAM limit, DLSS and FSR and XeSS and all that kind of stuff will actually work here, right? Whereas on the NVIDIA GPU, it didn't do anything because we were hitting a VRAM limit, so we were crushed regardless. So here, unfortunately, this game does not have XeSS. XeSS is way better than FSR, but whatever, we'll just put it on. I'll just show you that it works, right? So now we actually get a performance boost by using scaling technology because, you know, we never hit a VRAM limit in the first place. Now we're at 40, 48, 49. We can turn it up. Again, I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't necessarily run out of performance, but I just want to show you that you can. Like it actually makes a difference here. And this is the VRAM argument that I've been having with people for years. And like anyone who knew what they were talking about did, right? Like you can now increase your performance by doing other things, such as scaling, because you're never hitting a VRAM limit, right? Now, unfortunately, again, this game only has FSR, so it's a little soft right now. Still playable, but a little soft. You would want to use XeSS where possible. XeSS looks far better. I'll show you in the Hogwarts Legacy after this. Okay, but anyway, so yeah, you can't really compare it to the NVIDIA GPU because it's massively faster. It makes the game fully playable and very good. This game is unplayable on the 4050 at those settings. Full stop. The NVIDIA GPU cannot play Resident Evil on high, period, at 1080p, or any resolution as a result. It can't play it. It is unplayable. Okay? NVIDIA 4050 cannot play Resident Evil on high, period. Okay? The Panther Lake can. And it can play it just fine because of VRAM. Okay? So that's one of the nice things about these iGPUs. Not only is it around the same as a 4050, depending, plus minus, depending on the game, etc., but you do have access to the extra VRAM, right? So here, now we're at 1080p native normal, and it should be slower, and it is slower than the NVIDIA GPU. Not massively slower, but it's slower. It's 20% slower or something like that, right? And I think we'll get a huge drop here probably. We'll see. But again, we're also running at 22 watts, right? So the NVIDIA GPU was using... combined between the CPU and the GPU, we were at 100, 105 watts. We were getting more performance, but it was 5 times the watts. So let's say it's, you know, I don't know, 40% faster or something like that. Maybe even 50, depending on what's going on. We don't have any scaling here, but, you know, something like that. It's faster, put it that way, but it's certainly not 5 times faster. Okay, so now here we are on the Panther Lake. Run through. I mean, it's still running. You're getting 30. This is ultra 1080p native ultra, and we're getting 30, and we haven't done any scaling or anything like that. So it's still crazy for an iGPU at 24 watts. 24 watts. The NVIDIA GPU alone was pulling 80 watts. The NVIDIA GPU alone was pulling 4 times the amount of watts, approximately, a little bit less, like 3.5 times the watts, just on the GPU, not even including the CPU. Which would also, like, we'd be pulling, that system's probably pulling 5 times the watts here. So, like, imagine this in a handheld, right? 23 watts, it's like nothing. And you're getting ultra 1080p gaming here, 30. I mean, it's not 60, so you want to do something. You can turn it down, or you can do some scaling. But we'll come in here. Now we do have XeSS. XeSS looks wonderful, to be honest. It's very good upscaling. It's better than FSR, but still doing, look at all that VRAM, damn. You know, some games it's going to run better on AMD, some games NVIDIA, some Intel. It's just going to really depend on the game, to be honest. Drivers, that kind of stuff. And drivers, a little bit more there. Drivers are fairly well matured in this game. That's one of the reasons I'm testing. It's a little bit older, so it's going to be a little bit more matured. Okay, so anyways, let's come down here. Let's turn it down to now high instead of that. Go like that, high. Sure. I have no clue what this is going to do for performance. Right? So I just turned it down by 1, and you know we're getting close to 60 here FPS at 21 watts. You have to respect it. Right? Imagine this in a handheld. Right? We're at high. We're not ultra anymore. We're at high, and it's just so performant. 60 FPS. Right? So in this game, you know, you're one setting below the NVIDIA to get the same performance. It's so crazy. Okay, let's do one more thing here. Now this is typically how I actually play. So I actually turn it down, whether it was NVIDIA or this. I would do it on both. I just want to show you because it's about that. So let's actually go textures ultra. And where's materials? I can never find it. So textures ultra, materials ultra, everything else on medium. It might threaten us, but I don't think it's gonna be an issue. See that? So I actually turned down a bunch of the like stuff that I don't really care about, and I turned up textures and materials to ultra, which makes things look incredible. Like everything looks very well resolved, visually resolved, and you can just, yeah. And then as a result, you can probably turn down scaling too, right? So now we can come in here, and XeSS you can easily get by with lots of it because it's actually less prone to sparkling, I found, than NVIDIA and AMD, and like weird effects, like up in the foliage and that. You don't get like weird sparkling effects. It's just a very stable upscaling algorithm. It may not give you quite as much raw FPS as something like FSR, but it looks way better than FSR. And just to prove that, let's stand here for a second. Okay, we'll stand right here. And you can see like the grass all looks good. Let's zoom in here, get a little closer. And I'm actually going to turn all that to performance. This might be a little high for 1080p, to be honest, but let's see here. Right, it looks fantastic. Right, FSR you can use not as much of it as XeSS. So XeSS on a low resolution like 1080p, it looks good even when you use lots of it, like performance. It still looks very good. It's not going to get weird artifacting, like there's no shimmer up in these trees. Everything looks fantastic. If you do this with FSR, you may potentially run into problems. So yeah, you might get slightly hard raw FPS with FSR, but you typically, I find typically you get like weird artifacting. Let's see if it's still a case though. Yeah, it's just muddy, right? It's like you can't, the camera might not pick it up, but that tree, for example, looks very muddy. Like visually, I'm looking at it. There's not too much sparkle or anything, but it's definitely very muddy. The grass looks, oh yeah, you can see it. See how it's sparkling? I don't know if you can see that on camera, but it looks weird. Up in the trees, it looks weird, right? So imagine this with an AMD GPU, iGPU, right? It looks a little weird. And let's go back one more time. Now you can use XeSS on AMD, just so you know. And XeSS is better, straight up. But you can actually get a performance boost on NVIDIA, or on Intel. Look at that. No shimmer. Looking rock solid. The tree looks better. No shimmer, and that grass, that weird grass effect is gone. See that? So that's one of the advantages of XeSS. You can use XeSS on Intel or AMD or NVIDIA, right? You can use it on all of them, but generally speaking, it performs better on NVIDIA or on Intel. XeSS on AMD and FSR on AMD, you typically find that the XeSS is a little slower, just the way that it is. It's just a more demanding algorithm, but FSR looks terrible in comparison. Whereas XeSS on Intel, it's native support, so it actually performs the same regardless, but it looks way better. So that's the gaming performance. I mean, that it is what it is, right? So you're going to get around the same performance of a 4050. Some games higher, some games lower, it depends. VRAM is higher here, maximum, so you can put whatever you want. So in many cases, it may just crush the NVIDIA GPU just based on VRAM alone. And raw performance, they'll be around the same. Now, NVIDIA does have access to DLSS, which is a very good upscaling technology. But fortunately, Intel also has access to a very good upscaling technology called XeSS. And XeSS looks very good, better than FSR. And it gives you the performance boost because it's native Intel hardware. So you can use lots of it. Like you can put it on performance and it will look incredible, right? This is ultra, it's an ultra medium mix, but we'll have like ultra textures, ultra materials on a 20 watt APU, and we're getting 65 FPS with scaling, but still. I wonder, I'm just curious. I think if you turn it up too high, it's going to start to look really garbage, but I'm going to close out this here. Let's go ultra performance. That's like that rendering resolution is crazy. 420p. It's such a low rendering resolution, or internal resolution. It's getting a little sparkly, but it's not bad. I'm telling you guys, XeSS is really good. There's a little bit. There was a little... Yeah, did they see that? But this is 420p. Ultra performance XeSS before we turn on the thing. You don't need it. Like, we're getting 90 FPS. Just turn it down. Like, relax, turn it down. But, like, I don't know. There might be artifacting. I should probably turn on VSync, to be honest, but I'm not seeing any artifacting. Look at that effing performance. It's like 100 FPS. I don't see any artifacting with this XeSS. Ultra performance. This is there you go. There's some. See that? That looks a little weird. I mean, you wouldn't notice in fast motion if you're actually just playing the game. Like, I'm not looking over there. I'm looking at my character and above and forward. I'm not noticing it really. There's a little bit in the bushes, like a little bit over there. This is a very, very high amount of upscaling, though. Completely unnecessary. Like, let's go back to balanced here. It is completely unnecessary. Now we're at 60, and that bush is now completely stable. Yeah, so just don't use ultra performance. Now, here's the thing. This is a 1080p or 1280p resolution screen. It's not 1080p, it's 1280p screen resolution. If you were to use a laptop or something like that that has a 1600p something screen or something like that, it may actually look significantly better, right? You can use more scaling. Okay, so I just wanted to come back in here one more time real quick and put it at 1080p. The screen here is 1280p. I'm testing the laptop, but I just want to quickly show you guys what it's like if you actually just play at 1080p. So we'll go 1080p, I don't know, let's go 1080p high, native. Let's see what we can get here. It's not going to run fantastic, but 1080p high native. I don't know, like 40 FPS. I mean, that's kind of crazy for an iGPU. This is high, native, 1080p. Now, what I normally do, again, is I do like a mixture thing. I go like this. I put it down to medium, sorry. And then I put materials up to ultra or high, whichever you want. Textures. I like it very high like that. It just looks better, in my opinion. See that? Almost 1080p, almost 60 native now. And down there it'll be a little harder. I suspect right here we'll get like 55 to 60. Yeah. It's not bad. Far draw distance you're going to drop down. Up close you'll go up, obviously. It's just how it works. But we're getting 55 to 60 FPS here. Native with an ultra mix. Now if we put in a little bit of scaling, you come down here. And the reason I want to test this is because we may come out with a handheld that's 1080p instead of 1280p. 1280p is a very weird resolution, right? And now you're getting very high FPS. So yeah, this laptop obviously is incredibly performant. You're not going to have any problems playing any game on the Panther Lake, honestly. It's going to be awesome. You're going to have an awesome time. And it does speak well to, you know, Panther Lake in general, right? This is the first laptop that has come out with it that I've tested. There might be, I think there's one other one. There's a Lenovo one, but you can like just buy it. It won't be delivered yet, but the Yoga, there might be a couple other laptops, but they're pretty slim right now. And we're going to see more and more and more Panther Lake laptops come out, and they're just incredible for gaming. Look at this. This is crazy on an iGPU. I would have never, like a couple of years ago, I knew iGPUs were getting better, but I wouldn't anticipate this kind of like hyper jump all out of nowhere. So very good. Okay, so I suppose that's my review of the HP OmniBook 16X. This one here has the brand new Panther Lake CPU. It's interesting because it's obviously a very, very interesting APU. Lots of hype around it. It lives up to the hype, put it that way. And this one here, it's also being bundled with a nice laptop. The HP OmniBook is obviously, you know, some of their best laptops. It always has been. It's very nice. So let's go over the positives and negatives. We'll always start with the negatives. That's how I do it. I don't like this screen, personally. I don't like glossy. Okay, I don't like glossy. I don't like touchscreens. I don't care about touchscreens. And I want a higher resolution, right? 1280p is okay, but it's not enough for me. And then as a result of all that combination at the, like, I don't know, like a clear white thing, like palette, you can see a little bit of a screen door effect, which means like if I'm doing document editing, you can see it, unfortunately. It's just the way that it is. Otherwise, I mean, a lot of people will not care. They'll be totally fine with it. It's just, it's not my kind of screen. Fortunately, they have two screen options. The IPS screen is killer. Like, I don't have it, but I've tested probably that exact screen on other HP laptops, and it's very good. 100% sRGB, 1600p, high refresh, good color space, yada, yada, yada. No touch, no reflection. So it's your choice, right? I mean, I'm the choice guy, right? Like, I've been getting at Lenovo, for example, for their Legions in 2025, and probably 2026, all of them being glossy OLEDs. And I'm like, give us a choice. Let us choose what we want. Not everyone wants the same thing, so let us choose, right? HP gives us the choice, right? They give us the choice of, do you want this or do you want that? You pick. And I appreciate that. I respect that. They did that the same on the HP Omen Max, right? They had the HP Omen Max with glossy and non-glossy. I've reviewed both of them. I use both of them. And now I daily drive as my primary laptop for now. I always switch, but I've been using it now for, I think, a couple months if you watch my channel. The non-glossy, the IPS, it's my preference. I bought it and I said, that's the one that I want. And having that option gives me that. And they have that option here. So that's the negative. Otherwise, I mean, it's expensive, right? It's a brand new SKU from HP. It's one of their more premium laptops, and it has the brand new Panther Lake. And it just came out. I didn't get it on sale. I didn't pay whatever. You can get them on sale probably soon enough, and the price will go down. So price is something that I don't talk about too much because it's so dynamic, especially nowadays. The market's totally screwed up. So it's almost not even worth talking about the price of a laptop unless that laptop is a budget offering or something like that. Yeah, I'll bring it up. Or like crazy expensive, I'll bring that up. This is like as expected, we'll put it that way, for a brand new release. They'll come down in price. You'll find them on sale. So it seems to be okay as like an intro MSRP, no sale, slightly inflated because it's a brand new SKU, slightly inflated because it's the brand new Panther Lake. It's as expected. Positives now, or neutrals. So neutrals. Keyboard is good. It's not my kind of keyboard. I prefer the slightly larger separation, but I know a lot of people who like love this type of keyboard, like actually love it. It's very common on the Dell XPS or whatever they call them now, like the premium. And a lot of people love that keyboard, and some of the OmniBooks have used them. So that's personal preference. I have no problems with the keyboard. I'm neutral towards it. I'm keyboard agnostic in this case. It's totally fine. If I was using this laptop, I would not complain. It's totally fine. Okay, and now we'll get into the positives here. Very premium chassis, right? You get metal all over the place on this thing. It's a little bit heavier as a result, but it's light enough for considering all the stuff going on inside and the fact that it's metal. So it's not a negative. It's just, it is what it is. It's not super light, but that's fine. It looks nice and sleek. You get a lot of the design elements there. Port selection is reasonable for an OmniBook. It's nothing crazy. I guess that would have been in the neutral category, whatever. It's fine. Audio is good, right? No problems with the audio. It's nice and crisp. OmniBook audio, generally speaking, for my testing has been good. Very nice. That's great. It does have the option, I guess going to the positive now, it does have the option of the very good screen for me, the IPS, so that will be a good. Trackpad, fine. Internals, I would like to see dual NVMe. So that's one thing I'd like to see upgradable, but otherwise it's fine. You do get soldered memory, but it's 32 gigabytes and it's very fast. Good for an iGPU. Honestly, I wouldn't want SODIMM in here because it would slow down that iGPU. It would give you more expansion, but it would slow down the iGPU. So that's actually a positive. Good, nice heatsink on that 2280 NVMe. I'd like to see a second NVMe slot. I'm always going to ask for it. On a 16-inch, I think there should be two, even if the one of them is only a 2242. It just gives you the option of having extra storage. I would love to see it. Battery life and performance then, as a result. The Panther Lake is everything it was chalked up to be, and more. Honestly, it's more, because I'm a skeptic of some sorts. But I've been using Intel now. I mean, I've been doing reviews for 5 years or so, something like that. I don't know, whatever. And I started my channel in the point where Intel was crap. I was always telling people, don't buy Intel, buy AMD, because the AMD chips were better. They were faster, or equally fast. They were way more efficient, way cooler, way better battery life. They were just better, right? Significantly better iGPU. It was just, there was no point in buying Intel back then. It's the opposite now. I've been telling people since Core Ultra Series 1, I was like, something's going on here. It wasn't quite there, but it was coming. Like, their iGPU was monumentally better than it was before, approaching AMD. Not quite, but it was approaching. Their efficiency was getting better, and I was like, something's going to happen here. And then the next year in 2025, they came out with the Panther Lake CPU. Incredibly efficient CPU, excellent battery life, which is crazy from Intel of all people to have efficient, cool running, and very, very, very battery sipping from Intel of all people. Crazy. And it had an incredible iGPU, which traded blows with AMD's best, really, at that point, like the 780M, 890M, kind of in that range, which going from Intel having unusable iGPU to equivalent, essentially, more or less equivalent, right? It was incredible, right? And then they came out with the Arrow Lake, which was more for me. Yeah, it was a tiniest bit slower iGPU, still very close, almost exactly the same. But the Arrow Lake had the same efficiency, more or less, almost the same type of battery, not quite, but very close. But it was way faster, like double. It was like 2,000 in terms of like raw compute. So there was like something, they were both incredible. And I was like, imagine if they combine them, like this is in my head. And then they actually did it. They were like, we're going to make Panther Lake, and it's going to be the same. You're going to have the same crazy battery life of the Lunar Lake. You're going to get the same raw compute as the Arrow Lake, which it does have. It's literally both of those things put together. And then they're like, you know what? Let's not put on the like good iGPU. Let's put on an insanely good iGPU that rivals an RTX 4050. And they did it, right? The only better iGPU on the market that you can buy, the only one, is the AMD. These here, like these Ryzen Max AI plus 395. And they're a totally different thing. They're a much higher wattage offering. I recently did the Apex as well. Yeah, they do well at lower watts, but they're not meant to be. They're meant to be a lot of watts, a lot of cores, not as efficient. You just throw power at it, and it does more. Like, it's a more powerful CPU, for sure, and it is a slightly more powerful iGPU. Not way more powerful, but it is slightly more powerful iGPU, but you do need more watts to get there, right? So it does make sense in some type capacity, more laptops, but in handhelds, it can start to be a little weird, right? Like, you can get the HPs, the HP Max, I think they're called, and they come with those chips, and it makes more sense in a laptop. And a handheld, like, I love the Apex handheld that I did, but you really, like, you need an extra battery and all this extra cooling and all that kind of stuff, because it's just a lot of power, right? When the Panther Lake stuff comes out, more and more, keep an eye on it. Honestly, these laptops, you're going to be getting thin and light laptops. I'm talking thin and light, like tiny little thin and light laptops from all these different brands. It uses 22 watts peak, 22 watts, right? When you're gaming, right? When you're doing like CPU heavy tasks, it's only using 65 watts. You can cool 65 watts in a super thin Ultrabook without any problems, right? And it doesn't need it. It's efficient enough that if the OEM, the brand, is like, you know what, let's just put it at 45 or 30 watts, it still performs. Intentionally nerf down the watts, it's still going to perform. And in gaming handhelds, it only goes to 23 to 25 watts anyways. It's super easy to cool that. Like, the fans weren't even on when I was gaming at all. They might have been on, but I couldn't hear them. So Panther Lake lives up to everything it was said to be. And I love to see it. It's good to see, HP come out and, be the first. It's the only one you can buy right now, and they put it in a good one, right? They didn't put it in like, what is a cheap HP? I mean, I even like their Inspirons. I don't know, something, whatever. They didn't put it in a bad one. I don't even know what their bad ones would be. they put it in like their premium OmniBook, which makes sense because it's like, okay, you're paying all this money for the new chip from Intel. At least you get the premium package that goes with it. So that's nice. So it's a fantastic laptop. My only real critique is get the IPS screen. Otherwise, it's good. Panther Lake is the future. AMD is fine, whatever, but Panther Lake is the future. I'm sorry, it just is. Intel is... There's no reason to buy AMD. Bring this down. There's no reason to buy AMD. In a mini PC or something like this and you get the Ryzen AI Max, that's different, right? That's a mini PC. It's not portable. In a laptop, there's no reason to buy AMD right now. The HX chips are better from Intel than AMD. The efficient chips like this are now, I mean, they're not even comparable to AMD. Like, what does AMD have? An HX 375. It gives you around the same level of compute, and the GPU is way slower, right? So AMD, you fell asleep. I used to promote your stuff, and you fell asleep. Sorry, bud, you fell asleep. Intel's the king now. I'm sorry. It's going to take a while for Intel to come out, but my channel is to tell people what to buy, help them buy the good stuff, help them be educated. And if Intel is bringing it and AMD is asleep, tough. You're going to lose market share.